Today's lesson is on factoring using difference of squares. So the general formula is a squared minus b squared is equal to a plus b times a minus b. And if you're ever wondering if this formula works, if you were to multiply it through, a times a is a squared, a times negative b is negative ab, b times a is the same as ab or ba, right? B times negative b is negative b squared. So essentially, when these two monomials are multiplied, the middle terms cancel, and that's why it equals a squared minus b squared. So for our first example, let's look at x squared minus 25. So you could eventually do this in your head, or you can actually write it out and say, well, if it's difference of squares, that means I can write it as something squared minus something squared. So this is x squared, 25 is 5 squared. So then using the a plus b times a minus b formula, we have x plus 5 times x minus 5. And there's our answer. Now let's do 9x squared minus 64. Again, we can write it as something squared minus something squared. 9x squared is equal to 3x in parentheses squared, and 64 is equal to 8 squared. So this will be equal to 3x plus 8 times 3x minus 8. Because again, for x squared minus 25, our a was x and our b was 5. And for 9x squared minus 64, once we rewrite it, our a is 3x and our b is 8. Now let's do 4x squared minus 49y squared. We have variables in both terms. That's okay. We're still going to see if we can rewrite it in the form of something squared minus something squared. 4x squared is equal to 2x in parentheses squared. 49y squared is equal to 7y in parentheses squared. Again, because 2 squared equals 4, x squared is x squared, 7 squared is 49, y squared is y squared. Okay? So then we can rewrite this because here is our a, that's 2x. Here is our b, that's our 7y. So we can rewrite this as 2x plus 7y times 2x minus 7y. Now let's factor 18x squared minus 32. So sometimes we look at this, and I know 18 is not a perfect square, and neither is 32. So I got to do something. So let's check for a GCF. Sometimes you have to factor out your GCF first before you can actually factor it using difference of squares. So the GCF for 18x squared minus 32, only the first term has a variable in it. So we're looking at only the numbers, and the GCF of 18 and 32 is 2. So we can rewrite this as 2 times 9x squared minus 16. And now I see that 9 and 16 are perfect squares. This seems like it might work. So we end up with 2. I can rewrite 9x squared as 3x in parentheses squared. 16 is the same as 4 squared. So there's my a, there's my b. So in factored form, I keep my 2, and then I have 3x plus 4 times 3x minus 4. The last one I'm going to show you is a little more complicated, actually a lot more complicated. And usually they won't be this challenging, but I wanted to show you one. So let's look at 3x to the fourth minus 48. So we'll do GCF first. The GCF here is 3. So we have 3 times x to the fourth minus 16. And then I can rewrite this as 3. I'm going to use difference of squares, something squared minus something squared. So x squared squared is x to the fourth, and 4 squared is 16. So I can rewrite this as 3 times x squared plus 4 times x squared minus 4. But we're actually still not done, because I can actually rewrite x squared minus 4. And if you see it, that's good. Otherwise, just know this is x squared minus 2 squared. So x squared minus 4 is equal to x plus 2 times x minus 2. So then our final answer is actually 3 times x squared plus 4 times x plus 2 times x minus 2.